Wish is the newest Disney animated movie, so there are 62 films in their filmography. So today, let's rank them all from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name's Justin. Here I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming content. If you're up to it, leave your ranking down below of the 62 Disney animated movies from worst to best.
You can do anything! Anything's possible! The world is yours!
No, this is not Pixar. No, this is not the Disney Toon films or the straight to DVD sequels. The 62 animated films from Snow White to Wish. Coming in last place is Home on the Range. I have never enjoyed this movie. It's too childish. There's no heart to it. There's no deep meaning behind this film. It's not enjoyable at all. Despite having a good voice cast of Judi Dench and Roseanne Barr and Jennifer Tilly and Randy Quaid, the voice acting can't make up for this unoriginal film. It feels something completely different than what Disney makes. I regard the early 2000s of Disney to be some of the worst films they have created. The musical numbers in here are not funny. This is not a enjoyable Disney movie and very bottom tier of Disney. Coming in at number 61 is Chicken Little. I didn't really know what they wanted to accomplish with Chicken Little. You have a story about this chicken that wants to feel like he's part of something. So there's the baseball team aspect to it. Then there's the alien invasion part to it. It really just jumbles many different storylines into this film all at once. And the characters are not that likable. I could care less about these characters and their journey within this film. So the pacing throughout this movie and the structure, the story itself, I could not latch onto it at all. Coming in at number 60 is Make Mine Music. In 1940s, there was World War II. There was an animation strike as well. So Disney put out these war package films, and they did 6 of these movies. And it was just a collection of shorts. Some had a common theme. Some felt like very disjointed and just random shorts thrown in at once. And Make My Music is the third war package film and offered a total of 10 shorts. The problem with that is that it's hard to remember any of these shorts with how many there are in such a short film. One that stands out is Blue Bayou. I love some of the music that accompanies some of these shorts. Peter and the Wolf, Casey at Bat, some of them just feel like out of place when you look at all the other shorts and what they're trying to accomplish, some kind of theme throughout. So when you get to some of these other ones like Casey at Bat, it feels like it's just an out of place short within this movie. So with so many shorts in Make Mine Music, it's hard to remember certain things that had happened in here, and really nothing stands out as impressive within this movie.
I don't like the look of this.
Coming at number 59 is Melody Time. Instead of 10 shorts for Make Mine Music, we got 7 shorts for Melody Time. Still, a lot of shorts. Some of the shorts are entertaining and beautiful to look at, especially Once Upon a Winter Time. I do feel like this is like a weaker version of Fantasia, where Fantasia was that cinematic movie with very gorgeous shorts. And Melody Time tried to accomplish some of the praise that Fantasia did get, but it does not work within this movie. The short about Johnny Appleseed is decent. They brought back certain characters from Saludos Amigos, which I did enjoy, but overall, much like Make Mine Music, there was very forgettable moments in here and just thrown at me that I didn't find to be all that impressive. Coming in at number 58 is Fun and Fancy Free. Instead of several shorts just being thrown at you all at once in a very short animated movie, Fun and Fancy Free offers 2. So I like that we were able to get more of a short and more focus on what they were trying to offer. We have a short about Bongo, a circus bear who enters the wild and falls in love with another bear. The second short, Mickey and the Beanstalk, which has become iconic for Mickey Mouse. I thought the setup of a person telling these stories with a ventriloquist was something different within a Disney movie. It did lead to some darker dialogue at the end of it all, but I did appreciate that it was just 2 shorts, really able to focus on each one, have a clear story throughout, development for the story, and characters that you could really just kind of latch onto rather than just a quick runtime of different shorts throughout. So even though we got 2 shorts, I don't really care much for Fun and Fancy Free. Bongo short was the weaker of the 2, so it sits towards the bottom of this list. Coming in at number 57 is Saludos Amigos. This does offer some documentary feel to it, as we have an exploration of Latin America. So you have a blend of animation with Donald Duck going down to Latin America, and then some documentary part to it that tries to educate us about Latin America, the culture, the people down there as well. And a lot of it's fun. I do like this movie. I like the characters within Saludos Amigos and the Three Caballeros. The shorts that they are in, I find it to be the most enjoyable. It's short. It's 45 minutes long. It tries to jam-pack a lot in here. It tries to educate us about Latin America. It tries to have this documentary feel to it as well. Different shorts thrown throughout. Have some fun moments with Donald Duck. And it just moves very fast. Really no time to sit down and just focus on what is happening, because they just run through everything very quick. It's got a nice feel to it. The vibe is different compared to the other wartime package movies, so it sits above some of the other movies. Coming at number 56 is Dinosaur. I feel very comfortable in saying that Dinosaur is a dull Disney movie. I did appreciate a bit of a different animated style to this, where the characters were animated. Background was actually filmed in real locations, so they took a gamble, and I'm not sure that it fully paid off. It's very noticeable when you have these animated characters and you have a real background, and they just don't really blend together. On top of that, I really don't feel any urgency for the meteors that hit Earth and the extinction of the dinosaurs. None of the characters are fun to watch. Some of the side characters try to add some humor into it. It does not work. Every time that I've ever watched Dinosaur, I've completely checked out.
Boring!
Coming at number 55 is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I do like that there is 2 shorts within here, and each one feels like you have a continuing story development for the characters along the way. The story about Mr. Toad is the better of the 2. Mr. Toad's story is quick, harmless, and has some charismatic moments. The quick, crazy ride throughout matches the Disneyland ride that I really do enjoy. And the Ichabod short is haunting at times with a headless horseman. I wish they would have brought that sooner within the short rather than giving us something towards the end. Filling it in, some haunting moments would have been more impactful for this short. But I do like the 2 distinct styles of animation. One is a haunting, at times funny short, and then you have Mr. Toad's crazy wild ride, which is vastly different from the Headless Horseman. So even though there are 2 different ones, I still enjoy each short for what they are. Coming in at number 54 is Bolt. John Travolta, Miley Cyrus are decent in this movie, but it just moves along in a way that it doesn't really care how it's doing. It doesn't really check in on itself. How is it developing its story? How are the characters growing? It moves at such a pace that it forgets to just develop a story and have exciting, interesting moments for it. I did find some of the animation to be an improvement over other movies like Chicken Little. The characters are obnoxious at times. It's just a movie that I easily forget about. Coming in at number 53 is The Three Caballeros. I've always enjoyed the characters within this war package film. There are a lot of lively moments. It's a follow-up to Saludos Amigos, almost kind of like in that same style, but just a little more to it, introducing a new character along the way. Kind of that same format of having documentary moments and educational moments as well, but there's enough of a fun vibe within this movie to make it really enjoyable. It's a little higher than other war package films, mostly because of the characters within it. And I do find a lot of entertainment in them as a group and the journey throughout this war package movie. Coming in at number 52 is The Black Cauldron. In terms of look, this is one of the more darker Disney movies. The Black Cauldron has some nice moments to it, and I like how different it looks compared to other Disney movies. But a lot of times, this film drags. It's boring for most of the film. The Horned King doesn't really live up to the potential of that name. You don't really find anything menacing about this villain. And the movie doesn't do a great job of developing its story. Not that many likable characters. A third act that kind of just falls apart and doesn't really give any satisfying moments to it. But I did appreciate a different look to this movie compared to previous Disney movies and the approach to it. So it does stand out from the Disney movies in some good ways and some bad ways as well, but not one of my favorite experiences. Coming in at number 51 is The Rescuers. This late 70s film is fun at times. I do like the two characters that lead this movie, and they did a great job following up with The Rescuers Down Under. But this movie lacks any excitement. The animation feels cheap. The story of animal detectives has a good mystery within it, and it's nicely developed along the way to where you're interested in what's going to happen and the journey for these characters. At times I feel like this movie does play safe and doesn't really try to take these risks and challenges to develop the characters, like Madame Medusa. Could have been a really great character, but they really didn't do much with her, and it ended up being a uncooked movie with potential. And it was followed up later with a sequel that was well realized and just better developed. So The Rescuers is always one that I don't really think about when it comes to the filmography, and one that just drags at times. The animation just feels cheap. Overall, not a good time. Coming in at number 50 is Fantasia 2000. Fantasia 2000 keeps the same structure as the previous Fantasia movie. Really beautiful shorts. It feels less prestigious than the first Fantasia. It goes for a more comedic route, which does take away some of that value that the first Fantasia had, and now it's in a different route. We have celebrities introducing the shorts in a comedic way that does not add to the dramatic fashion of Fantasia 2000, where you're having these shorts that are supposed to be emotional and beautiful and grand, and then you have these celebrities coming in and having these comedic bits that really just kind of clash with the tone of the overall shorts within this movie. Coming in at number 49 is Oliver and Company. Oliver and Company is a mixed bag for me. There are some aspects that I do enjoy. The group of animals together is a lot of fun, and there are some good musical moments, some pop music throughout this movie that I do find to be very catchy. And on the other hand, it's dull at times. It drags. There is not a lot of exciting moments. As they are relying on these characters, there's not much for them to do within this movie. The animation feels very similar to The Rescuers, very cheap at times, like just painted backgrounds that you feel like the characters aren't really interacting with all of that. The Billy Joel song, Why Should I Worry, is one of my all-time favorite Disney songs, and so at least there's some fun moments with that, and I've always found that song to be very catchy and one of the coolest songs Disney has done. But other than that, Oliver and Company, cute characters and a fun story, but it isn't realized, and there are just moments that don't feel really developed for Oliver and Company. Dodger, the characters within it, there's potential for them, but it really doesn't work within this movie. Coming in at number 48 is The Aristocats. This was the last approved film by Walt Disney, and it's a film that really doesn't do much for me. It's a good looking film. The characters are cute. There's some good music in it, but I'm always left wanting more and not moved by this film, or one that I ultimately think about when I compare a lot of other Disney movies, the Aristocats is just there. There's nothing really terrible with this movie, but there's nothing either amazing about it either. The song Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, it's iconic. It feels very similar to 101 Dalmatians, but nowhere near as good. A lot of characters in it, a story that feels very similar, but it doesn't take them on these adventures much like the other movies that involve animals. Coming in at number 47 is The Sword in the Stone. I'm not sure this was the right route for the character in this movie. A lot of typical fantasy elements are within this movie, but it undermines itself with a lot of cheesy comedy, as our young character is taught by Merlin, and the characters are fun, but they put them in these zany adventures that kind of clashed with the overall tone of this movie. And it's a good story to tell. It's one that is pretty iconic and one that just has so much potential for it. But the way that they brought the character in and kind of developed him along the way doesn't really match what I would expect from this story. I think of something more grand, not the way that they handled the characters within it. Coming in at number 46 is The Fox and the Hound. The Fox and the Hound is a well-known Disney movie, and it's a beloved Disney movie as well, but I find a lot wrong with this movie. The film spends little time with Todd and Copper as their younger selves, and they think of each other as best friends. But once Copper goes away on a hunting trip and Todd pays Copper a visit, he doesn't want anything to do with him. The problem with all of that is we're supposed to fill these emotional moments for Todd and Copper as when they get older, they aren't friends anymore, and we're supposed to fill those dramatic scenes. I think the poor development for the beginning of the movie, while cute and adorable, there's little development to fill that friendship. And then when we get to their older selves and they don't get along anymore, it just does not work. Coming in at number 45 is Ralph Breaks the Internet. While I do enjoy Ralph Breaks the Internet, the relationship between Ralph and Vanellope is missing. It's nowhere near as charming as that first movie. It's nicely set up in the beginning of the movie, but somehow manages to take a step back. A lot of internet themed humor and discussion of other Disney movies, which I did find to be really hilarious. But what made Wreck-It Ralph work so well is that exploration of Ralph and Vanellope learning to accept each other and building that friendship. I really like that within the first movie. The second film, it just really takes a step back and doesn't really explore it anymore. The plot is really all over the place. You have different situations that Ralph is in, different situations that Vanellope is in, and they try to develop them, and it's really clashing with each other as you don't feel one plot line is successful and the other one is just kind of falling apart along the way. And so there's a lot of just scenes that are going on. Ralph's trying to gain this internet fame. Vanellope's got these races going on. And so much is happening that it really just separates these characters and misses the point of that first film and what made it so good and enjoyable to watch. Coming in at number 44 is The Rescuers Down Under. I can't get over how much better this movie is compared to the first Rescuers. The characters are more exciting, the plot is thrilling, the animation is so much better, it's brighter compared to that original Rescuers film, and this was one of them I watched a lot growing up. And when I rewatched it as an adult, I don't really remember too much of the story, I just remember certain scenes and how bright this movie was. Down Under ditches the music for adventure, which was fitting for the setting of Australia. Bernard and Eva return to help save a boy in a rare golden eagle. Much of it does feel brand new, but it really keeps that structure intact as it is a mystery, and you still have that adventure and likable characters. The story, the animation, the pacing, everything was just much better the second time around. I enjoyed it as a kid. I still really like this movie. It's got that fun mystery to it. The characters are likable. Just an overall solid sequel much better than what we got for The Rescuers. Coming in at number 43 is Raya and the Last Dragon. This is a film that I struggle to really enjoy, as I like one side of the story. Raya and her story is nicely developed. I care about it. And then you have the dragon within this movie, voiced by Awkwafina. It really just throws off the entire film. Raya's story is grounded. It's well realized, feels very personal, realistic. And then you have the dragon that provides the comedy for the movie, and it really just it clashes with its tone. Awkwafina is good as this dragon, and she does have some funny moments, but it does not work the natural feel of Raya's story and the adventure part to it. So while I do like half of the film, the other half I feel struggles to connect with Raya's story and her growth as a character, because it is a character worth watching and worth seeing naturally develop throughout the film. But the dragon is where it kind of just throws everything off and tries to have these comedic moments that feel kind of cringy at times and just naturally don't fit in with the story. Coming in at number 42 is Frozen 2. The more I watch Frozen and Frozen 2, the less I really care about these movies. Elsa and Anna are fun characters. Olaf is enjoyable. The musical numbers are good in here. Not as catchy as the first film, but still a story that I don't really care about. Elsa is a character that I struggle to connect with and struggle to understand her story within both Frozen movies. And so this kind of builds off of that first movie, that she's still struggling understanding her powers and her purpose in the world. So she sets off to explore all of that, which the first film did the same exact thing. And there's Anna to chase after her and try to help her understand that I'm here for you and I would like to help you. Please let me talk to you and we can think through things together. And she just wants to do her own thing. So it makes it very frustrating to watch. But they do build on that first film, exploring more of the characters set in this world and connecting it to Elsa and Anna's past. The animation still is really breathtaking and beautiful, and there are some really endearing moments as we see kind of the relationship between Anna and Olaf build nicely throughout. Kristoff and Sven have a really funny musical moment in here, but just the story itself I didn't really find to be that entertaining or that well developed. It's a story that just kind of feels a little bit generic and a little bit repetitive compared to that first movie. Coming in at number 41 is Brother Bear. This movie starts off very solid. It's dark. It has this important message about family and love. And then it kind of just goes off in these odd adventures with side characters that are a little bit obnoxious at times. But I think that the film is nicely put together. As we see this character start to realize things about himself, and this younger bear is helping him along the way. We see that natural progression of this character. But what makes Brother Bear work so well is that progression and the feelings that we have for this character. It's all very emotional. It's nicely set up in the beginning. A lot of things that are just thrown at this human that eventually turns into a bear. Some of the side characters I could have done without. Too much comedy for a film that set up its tone very strong, and then they kind of played around with it throughout this movie. But it didn't really take away from the story itself and the natural progression of the plot. It just kind of added a little too much comedy within it. But I still like Brother Bear. The strong setup and the journey for the character and him realizing the things about himself. Very sweet relationship that develops between the two bears. Coming in at number 40 is The Great Mouse Detective. The opening sequence of The Great Mouse Detective terrified me as a kid. I tried to watch it. I put on the movie. I watched the opening sequence and then I just turned it off. And going back as an adult, it wasn't really that terrifying. It just really messed me up as a kid. I wish I would have watched it as a kid because this is a great film. The movie feels a lot like Sherlock Holmes, and there even is a few references to Holmes and Watson. Basil is a fun character, and having him as the lead character made this movie's runtime feel quick and easygoing. Vincent Price as Professor Ratigan is one of the most vile characters in the Disney movies and a solid villain within this film. Basil, Dawson, and Olivia all together trying to solve this case, I was on board with. I thought it had a great mystery to it, a really darker setting, a terrifying villain, a strong opening sequence, and so it's a film that I've really started to appreciate as an adult. As a kid, never could care less about. I could care less about it. I didn't want to watch it at all. But now as an adult, I really like the story and the characters within it and the plot and how terrifying the villain was. Better villains for the 80s Disney movies. Coming in at number 39 is Strange World. One of the newest Disney animated movies. I really like the world building in here, and I was really just taken back by the end of this movie and really just looking at where these characters were and what they were on. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it had some shocking moments in here. I do think at times this movie is really heavy-handed with its message about protecting the environment. And when you look at where they are and certain things they have to protect themselves against or fight off, it's not like the metaphors and everything within it. They just kind of give it to you like, hey, this is supposed to be this, and like we realize what it is. And so at times it feels like they're just trying to tell us everything about it. Like, hey, you see this scene right here? That's what it's actually supposed to mean. And we get that. We got that several times throughout the movie. But I still thought it was very cool, the world that they explored. I like the characters within it and the relationships between father and son and grandfather as well. And the struggle of trying to be your own person. There's going to be some conflicting moments about growing up and things you want to do with your life, and the movie does a nice job of exploring all of that and bringing that all together with some solid voice acting within it. So Strange World, nice characters, nice story for them as well, but I think a lot of things that they were trying to go for and tell us about environment and animals and all of that, they tried to be very slick with it and very smart and strategic, and it just did not work. Coming in at number 38 is Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet is a cool looking movie. It's got a really exciting adventure feel to it. And the animation is inventive, and clearly there was a lot of work that went into this movie. For its story surrounding a young man searching for lost treasure in space, I expected something to be a little more thrilling. The animation's there, the voice acting's good, the characters are fun. I expected more of a tense story with a lot of world building within it. The character relationships work, the designs stand out, and I really like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as our main character, but he does feel a bit bland. They released Treasure Planet really close to Atlantis, and these are two movies that I feel are very similar. Adventure movie with likable characters and a fun cast, but both of them I just think are kind of average at best. Coming in at number 37 is Winnie the Pooh. This is the 2011 Winnie the Pooh that people often forget. It wasn't a very smart move to release it the same weekend as Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And Winnie the Pooh is one of the characters I do like. It's not one that I absolutely love. I remember watching some Winnie the Pooh shows growing up and the original movie as well. But it's one that I think it's fun. It's not something that I have very strong feelings about. It's something I don't hate either. And that's just kind of how I feel about this 2011 film. The animation looks really good. It's bright, clear, nicely put together movie. And it's a genuinely sweet movie. It's a pretty short film as well, and it just really felt like an extended episode of Winnie the Pooh. So that doesn't really make it a compelling movie. It doesn't really do much with its story to naturally progress it. But I did like watching this movie, and I do like watching the other Winnie the Pooh movies and all of the spin-offs and other films they have done. I do like the character, but it's just all right to me. Coming in at number 36 is Pocahontas. The Renaissance era for Disney had a lot of great films, and Pocahontas is definitely one of them. This is a gorgeous looking film with a lot of musical moments that stand out. Color of the Wind, Just Around the River Bend are some of the most iconic Disney songs of all time. The story is very strong as well for Pocahontas. We have the savages, the emotional connection between John Smith and Pocahontas is nicely developed within this movie. There's enough side characters that make it a little bit entertaining, not completely dark and emotional. They have enough fluff within it to make it fun throughout this movie, but still really maintaining that very personal, deep, emotional story for Pocahontas, mixed in with a gorgeous looking film. Coming in at number 35 is Atlantis, The Lost Empire. There's so much cool mythology and world building within this movie. A very fun adventure for Milo and the crew within it. Likeable characters that fill this runtime, and a journey that you just want to see progress throughout this movie. I didn't really watch this movie a lot as a kid. I do appreciate it now as an adult and what it does offer. A really unique, action-packed movie, which Disney really hasn't done too much of. In Atlantis and Treasure Planet kind of switched that up and was very successful with it. It's cool looking. The animation style is a little bit different compared to other Disney movies, but I really do like Atlantis. The sequel wasn't the best thing ever, but I found a lot of fun moments within this movie. Coming in at number 34 is Meet the Robinsons. I vividly remember watching this movie in middle school for the first time and really being connected to the characters and the really bizarre time traveling within this movie. But the way that they connected this young boy who was an orphan, didn't feel like he was connected or part of anything, and then meeting this family that just had so much love to give, and then find out that he's connected to that family. I remember watching it and really just hitting me. And I found it to be so emotional and so satisfying to see that conclusion for the character. And still to this day, I love that journey. I love the buildup of the family, quirky characters, really fun time traveling sci-fi feel to it that works, and you just get to know so much about these characters. And when you peel back the villain within the story as well and look at him as well, it just adds another layer to the movie. So Meet the Robinson has been one of my personal favorite Disney movies of the 2000s. I don't think it's really high up there on a lot of people's lists, but I still really like this movie. Coming in at number 33 is The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is a sweet collection of different Winnie the Pooh shorts. Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree is an iconic segment that was made just for this movie. I love how this movie is told through the storybook, and the storybook is part of the movie. Some really great edits and aspect to the movie that makes it feel unique compared to other Disney movies. The characters are a lot of fun. Eeyore and Piglet and Tigger and Winnie the Pooh, they all just have nice developing stories in these different segments that make them so fun to watch. But a lot of these segments were already released previously, so it does feel a little bit recycled. That iconic short, The Honey Tree, is made for this movie, and it fits nicely alongside these segments, but I wanted to see different segments for this movie, but I still like what this movie did offer. Coming in at number 32 is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a dark, depressing movie that you really just start to latch onto the character of Quasimodo, and how he is treated really just affects you throughout this movie. It makes some emotional, personal scenes throughout this movie. The gargoyles in here are great friends to Quasimodo, provide for some fun moments along the way. But seeing how he pushes through everything throughout the movie is very uplifting. Amongst all of the dark moments, throughout some of these darker moments, we do have some of that humor that shines a light into this movie. It's definitely one of their more darker movies, but it's got a sweeping score. It's grand. It's beautiful to listen to from beginning to end. A lot of the animation just feels The spectacles within this movie, the animation, it just looks so good. It's definitely a darker film for how Quasimodo was treated, but you are there for his journey and you really start to care for this character. Coming in at number 31 is Fantasia. Fantasia is such a vibrant, creative collection of shorts that have become iconic to Disney throughout the years. All of the shorts in here feel very unique and creative, especially the Sorcerer's Apprentice, which has become an iconic outfit and story for Mickey Mouse. The enchanting scores that go along with these segments make it so interesting to watch. The conductor gave some information about the upcoming segment, which made it very creative. It tried to do that with Fantasia 2000, but it did not pay off that same. It's a very calm, vibrant movie that I like to watch. Coming in at number 30 is Wish. The newest Disney movie is a lot of fun. This is a celebration of all things Disney, from the 2D and 3D animation to all of the references throughout. You have so many different references for like her friends that represent the dwarfs from Snow White, some of the outfits, some of the characters too. It's so cool to see these different references throughout the movie. But I like Asha as a character. Ariana DeBose does a great job voicing this character. The songs are really catchy. Chris Pine as our villain fit that role very well. It's a very vague story, pretty thin. It doesn't really kind of go too deep into wishes, and the wishes belong to people. I like different parts of this movie, but as a whole, I think it could have been a lot deeper and more involved with those wishes. For a movie that's supposed to be celebrating all of Disney, I expected just a little bit more, but I really do like this movie and the risks it took with some of that animation. It does stand out and a little bit distracting at times, but I do like the different style to it. Wish is an adorable film with good characters, fun side characters, good musical moments, and a very strong villain. Coming in at number 29 is Frozen. The whole story of Frozen reminded me of a classic Disney movie. It's got a simple story and interesting characters. The songs are catchy, even if they have been overplayed. My God, Let It Go. I have heard that song so many times. But Elsa and Anna were both intriguing characters and were given enough backstory and development to make sure that you cared about them. Elsa's journey of trying to find herself and understand her powers impacted just not herself, but so many people that lived in Arendelle, and Anna and Olaf and Sven and Kristoff. All of these characters were impacted by Elsa, and Elsa just was trying to find who she is and understand her powers and all of that. So it's a strong story for Anna and Elsa, and bringing them together and understanding that sibling love that they have and exploring that was a story worth visiting in Frozen. Coming in at number 28 is Mulan. Mulan has a lot working for it. There is intense action, as well progressed story, humor, and one of the best Disney characters, Mulan. The thing I like about the humor definitely is Eddie Murphy. He provides some lighthearted scenes in a really action-packed movie, but it really never takes away from the plot. You don't think that Eddie Murphy is creating these clashes with the tones throughout this movie. You just feel like he's placed into the right moments. You have that nice growth for Mulan as a character, what she stands for, and then you have Eddie Murphy in there to kind of lighten up these scenes, but it really never takes away from that tone. Coming in at number 27 is Wreck-It Ralph. This is a lot of fun. I love the video game references, the world that is within this movie, and the characters are really exciting as well. John C. Reilly is perfect as Wreck-It Ralph, a character that you're supposed to paint as this villain, but the more that you look at this character and go more in depth with him, you realize that he doesn't want to be that villain. He wants to be something different, and that's the journey that you really start to care about, and that relationship that he develops with Vanellope along the way too, that becomes a very endearing aspect to the movie. And honestly, the highlight of the movie for me is them two together. You got a lot of fun, exciting moments in here, moments that move very quickly, that keeps that pace really entertaining and breezy to watch. It's a really fun movie that I've enjoyed throughout the years for the video game references, the characters. It's got heart too. It's got comedy. Just an all-around really good film. Coming in at number 26 is The Princess and the Frog. The Princess and the Frog is a really inspiring story about chasing after your dream. Tiana in here is a character that will go after her dreams, and you really feel that determination, that drive that this character has, and it adds so much to this character. The layers that we get for her, the personality really shines throughout this movie for Tiana and becomes a pretty iconic character for Disney throughout the years. But once she becomes a frog, it changes up the pace of this movie and becomes more urgent as she is trying to open up her restaurant, and now there's this obstacle in her way that she is a frog, and it does add for some humor within the movie. They have to go on all these really odd, bizarre journeys along the way with some characters that are a little bit obnoxious but are fun to watch. But it makes the end very rewarding. There's lush sequences, beautiful score throughout, all around just a really good movie. Coming in at number 25 is Bambi. Bambi is a bit of a depressing movie with Bambi's mother and how Bambi reacts to it all. There's a lot of deep emotions within just that one sequence that really affects the whole entire movie. It's a very personal story about grief and loss, and told in a very sweet way as well. You do got these characters that have been staples in Disney movies, but those beautiful moments come when Bambi forms these relationships with Thumper and Flower, and it feels very genuine. That friendship develops nicely throughout this movie. One problem I've always had with Bambi is that abrupt transition of the loss of Bambi's mother and then Bambi becoming an adult. That really quick transition doesn't really develop any emotions to it. I wanted to see a little more of how it affected Bambi within this movie. Coming in at number 24 is Encanto. Encanto is a huge surprise, and I've watched this movie a lot since it has been released. The songs are really good. There's some really strong emotional moments at the end, and this film is solely focused on family and how people in your family are a little bit different than each other. They all come together, and the message throughout this movie about having your purpose and being connected to your family is very strong, and it ends on a very high note. Mirabel as a character. Mirabel is a very likable character, even though that she doesn't have the powers like her other siblings. She still is someone that loves her family and wants to be involved. It's filled with exciting moments looking at the siblings and all the family members' powers and how they contribute to their community. And even though this movie is really kind of focused on Mirabel, there's so much more given to the other family members within this movie. Coming in at number 23 is Dumbo. Dumbo is also a pretty depressing movie, looking at what Dumbo goes through in the beginning with their mother and how Dumbo has to kind of move forward with it all. It's filled with some nice minor characters and a story that you're just invested in for Dumbo. It's very sweet at times. Like I said, it's also depressing with how Dumbo is treated. The mother elephant as well. Those things that they go through paints a kind of a realistic look at how animals are treated. The animation looks really good. It's bright, it's colorful, and they did a fabulous job of bringing these fun moments to the screen. And the moments with Dumbo flying, how that feels so grand. Coming in at number 22 is The Emperor's New Groove. The Emperor's New Groove is a movie that's aimed at both young kids and adults. There's a lot of jokes in here that I find to be funny as an adult, and there's a lot of situational humor that they go through in this movie that kids can enjoy as well. Someone that doesn't really go through like this deep transition throughout this movie. He's kind of on par with the villain within this movie of terms of being just evil and rude to people. So it makes the journey for the Emperor in this movie. Not that deep or personal. He kind of is almost like the same a little bit at the end, but you still really like this character. Character that you kind of like, at times you hate a little bit as well, but you still at the end really appreciate the journey within this movie. So I like Emperor's New Groove, not one of my all-time favorite Disney movies, and I really didn't watch it so much as a kid. And I know there's a lot of people who really love this movie, but for me, I think it's just a really good movie, and it's not the best, but definitely not the worst. Coming in at number 21 is Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch hooks you right away. From the beautiful songs in the beginning, the animation of Hawaii and the waves and just the cool vibe for this movie, it really just hooks you right there with its opening sequence. And then throughout, you get this adorable relationship between Lilo and Stitch that naturally develops throughout this movie. And there's urgency as well, as there are aliens that are trying to find Stitch and bring him back in. And you see that deep connection that Lilo and Stitch have, as Lilo is trying to protect Stitch, but also she's trying to protect herself and her sister. And she's just very unaware of things. She finds Stitch, and that's kind of a way for her to learn some compassion and empathy as well, and protect Stitch. And that's what her sister is doing for her as well. And so it's this beautiful just cycle of stories that is nicely developed throughout this movie, filled with likable side characters, funny situations, very endearing, compassionate look at our character Lilo and how she's wants to protect Stitch, and just the growth for these characters is always worth watching. Coming in at number 20 is Robin Hood. I've always liked the character of Robin Hood, the animation movie for Disney and all of the other Robin Hood movies that we've gotten throughout the years. I like the story of Robin Hood, and I do a fun version of it with animals that makes it more accessible for a younger audience. And the animation and the score, the songs, it's all really good in here. This is one I've watched a lot growing up. It's one of my personal favorite Disney movies, just for the story of Robin Hood and how the characters really do match the story of Robin Hood. Robin Hood wants to steal from the rich to give to the poor. At times the story does drag a little bit and it becomes less engaging along the way. It's got a really strong setup introduction of Robin Hood and Little John and all of the other characters as well, but you get to a certain point in the movie that just kind of drags a little bit and is less exciting, but it ends up being a very strong Disney movie. Coming at number 19 is Lady and the Tramp. The Lady and the Tramp is a simple, lovely movie that really doesn't do too much with its plot. There are a few iconic scenes here and there, but it's a simple story about two dogs falling in love, and that's really about it. It's not a complex movie. It's not a film that's really testing itself. It's okay with being a simple movie, and that's what makes it so sweet and enjoyable to watch. The movie remains cute and charming throughout when you look at these two dogs that come from opposite sides of the track. One is free to just roam about, and the other one has lived this life where she's pampered, she's taken care of, and these characters feel very different, but when you start to kind of look at the characters and explore them a little more, there's a lot of similarities between the two, rather than just them being dogs. There's things that they go through that they can relate to, and it's charming throughout. Get the iconic scene of the spaghetti, and it's really just stood the test of time. Coming at number 18 is 101 Dalmatians. 101 Dalmatians does offer one of the most iconic Disney villains in Cruella de Vil, and her presence within this movie is truly felt. Anytime that Cruella de Vil is on screen, this movie does a quick transition to being really dark and menacing. You really just feel that presence, that people fear Cruella de Vil, and it makes the whole movie feel urgent once the puppies are born and they are taken away. You have the mother and father trying to find them. All the other animals are getting involved as well. You really just feel that sense of urgency with this movie due to Cruella de Vil's introduction and her presence throughout. But the Dalmatians are absolutely adorable. I love the relationship between the dogs and the human characters as well. I've always loved this style of animation that Disney did, like Lady and the Tramp, Cinderella, Robin Hood. They all just kind of felt very similar to each other. But honestly, one of my favorite styles of animation for Disney. Coming at number 17 is Tarzan. Tarzan's soundtrack is a banger. It's a good soundtrack. Phil Collins went so hard with this soundtrack, and it really just stands out from other Disney movies. On top of that, I really like Tarzan as a character. Jane, the way that they interact with each other. There's some very sweet moments of Jane understanding Tarzan and Tarzan understanding humans as well, because he's lived with gorillas for his whole life. The opening's very strong, but from there, it does move very quickly. Little time to get adjusted to Tarzan being a kid. It's kind of throws you into the movie and you have to accept the life that he lives. But from there on, Tarzan's storyline with Jane is endearing. Watching him interact with another human is both funny and sweet, and the animation is perfect. Watching all the scenes of him going through the jungle and swinging on the vines and going through the trees, that is all very quick animation, and it's interesting to see how they have created movies like this. I've seen a few behind the scenes looks of this movie and the animation, how fast it had to move, and it really kept up its pace and added for some fun action scenes along the way. But it's got humor, it's got a good story with a character that you really care about, and then some nice development for him along the way, kind of switching up his story and seeing how he reacts to it all. Coming in at number 16 is Zootopia. Zootopia is a brilliant movie that is filled with perfect world building. The way that they look at the environments in the different regions and the animals, it's realistic to today's world. And they did it in a way that you cared about the characters. You got prey and predator and how they are different, and how they are different, and the predator and the prey fear these predators. And you look at Nick Wilde in here, voiced by Jason Bateman, and how he is that predator. You have this rabbit who is the prey, and they form this relationship, and it really starts to test the predators and prey within the movie. When you look at how the animals are treated, the stereotypes behind them all, the predator and prey, surprisingly, it's very deep. I think the end of the story with kind of like our reveals, that's when the movie kind of tapers off at the end. It's overall strong story with beautiful animation, fun characters. Starting off on the top 15 is The Little Mermaid. This is a very iconic 80s Disney movie with one of the most likable and iconic Disney characters of Ariel. All the underwater sequences with Ariel and her father is nicely explored. We see that she has this desire to learn about the world on land, and then when she gets to that world, and she's very curious about it all. Does a great job of introducing the new characters along the way, and that curiosity is nicely explored as she meets Prince Eric. Nice buildup of that relationship between Prince Eric and Ariel. We see that genuine connection that they have. I do think the end is really good. Epic finale to Ursula and the battle between her and Prince Eric. Really good animation, a really iconic Disney movie. Coming in at number 14 is Big Hero 6. It's based off of a Marvel property, and Big Hero 6 saw a group of college students get together and form a superhero team. Alongside Baymax, who's arguably one of the most adorable Disney characters, there's a fun group of human characters as well as they start to understand each other. It has all the right tropes to a superhero movie done in a Disney animated film, and it works so well. But also there's that emotional connection to this movie, as our character had lost his brother in the beginning of the movie, so Baymax is a way for him to connect to his brother. and understanding that relationship, and adds more layers to the story. Coming in number 13 is Hercules. The heroic story of Hercules always manages to make me laugh and smile. We have a character that goes from zero to hero in such a fun way. Danny DeVito as Phil is absolutely perfect. There's so many thrilling sequences in here with Hades and all of the creatures within this movie. Watching him become that hero adds for some intense moments along the way. The scenes feel grand and there's so much attention to detail. Hercules is the character that has a lot of learning to do, and so there's that progression of this character, that natural development that happens within this film. He's not stuck. He's moving throughout the movie. There's these challenges that he's presented with throughout the film that test who he is as a god and a human as well. And it's filled with some good music, vibrant animation, and some thrilling sequences. Coming at number 12 is Cinderella. Cinderella is an enchanting Disney movie, one of their most iconic films as well. This has such a likable character of Cinderella that has been put through a lot within her life. So right there, you just root for this character as she meets her fairy godmother. She gets her dress. She gets to go to this ball where she had a lot that she had to deal with prior to that. Her evil stepmother and her stepsisters and how they treated her. It's a character that you just want to see grow and have everything given to her because she really does deserve it all. For the time that this movie was released, the animation was impressive. The transformation scene with Cinderella getting her gown, all of that is just absolutely stunning. There are some great songs along the way too that just add to the development of Cinderella. This film has stood the test of time for me. Just its pure, enchanting feel to it, with some of those darker moments with her evil stepmother. But this is the character that you just want to see naturally grow and have everything given to her. And that's what I love about Cinderella. Coming in at number 11 is Tangled. Tangled really came out of nowhere for me. I remember watching this when it was released in 2010 and immediately loving this movie. It felt very similar to an iconic Disney movie with a character that learns things about herself and just grows throughout this movie. Where we have Rapunzel, she lives in this tower. She wants to explore the world. She tries to make the best of her life, but she wants more. And what she experiences and that curiosity that she has feels very similar to the Little Mermaid. And Rapunzel is such a fun character. Mandy Moore provides that innocence to this character. There's a lot of great animation and musical numbers that just have that upbeat vibe to this movie, filled in with a side character, Flynn, who's equally just as good as Rapunzel. So the characters in here really stand out, and there's some growth for them, development that works. The relationship is explored as well. These characters go from wanting more and then just having this fun adventure throughout and then getting that at the end, but it's also adding that emotional touch to the character as we see her explored and her past and how it was taken away from her. So there's that very personal aspect to this movie that helps this character grow. Rounding out our number 10, Alice in Wonderland. Although at times Alice in Wonderland steers away from its main plot, the whimsical feel of Alice in Wonderland has always drawn me in. I love the characters, the world within Alice in Wonderland, the vibrant colors that pop throughout this movie. I'm always drawn to the style and characters of Alice in Wonderland and keeps me coming back to it year after year. Alice in Wonderland is charming, it's colorful, there's so much to admire when looking at Alice in Wonderland. All the characters have such odd designs. This is a very easygoing movie that she just gets to go through this fun adventure and meet characters along the way and then return home. The animation's bright, it's colorful, it pops every single time that a new character is introduced or a new section of Wonderland is explored. And it's just a movie that I overall really, really love. Coming at number 9 is Moana. Moana was a big surprise for me. The first time I watched it in theaters, 2016, I absolutely loved it. And as a father now, and my daughter really loving Moana, I've really appreciate this movie. Moana is such a likable character. She's strong will. She's very determined, and she takes on this personal mission to help her community. And right there, it's a very selfless character. This is not for her. This is for her home. And watching that story go throughout, it's very urgent as she has a clear mindset on what she needs to accomplish. And along the way, there's these obstacles. She meets Maui, voiced by Dwayne Johnson, who also is such a great character. He's going through his own personal story that adds that layer to this movie. It's filled with beautiful animation. The ocean sequences are sweeping. Moana was charming. It was a good time. Moana and Maui are such a great duo. And Hey Hey, one of the best side characters ever. Coming at number 8 is Sleeping Beauty. One of my favorite things about Sleeping Beauty is how it captured that medieval feel to it. It has that fantasy vibe that's perfect for Disney. The animation is consistently beautiful and balances dark and light moments well. Princess Aurora is such an iconic Disney princess, and Prince Philip does more than just sing a song. He is able to get into these action scenes, provide help along the way, and he's a great character as well. Maleficent is a character that comes into the movie and immediately provides those darker sequences. And then when Prince Aurora grows up and she lives with the 3 fairies, that has those lighter scenes. It's got that nice pace to it, where I'm interested in the beginning, before Princess Aurora went away, and in the beginning as that character is explored, and at the end with that big finale. There's so many good scenes that really just connect each other, and it just leads to be one of the best Disney movies I have ever seen. Coming in number 7 is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This was the film that started it all, and it's a very charming film as well. Snow White is such an adorable, fun character. The movie balances a lot of dark moments, especially in the beginning, but once the dwarves are introduced, the film becomes fun and endearing. Those darker moments in the beginning through the woods and the evil queen, but the transition for Snow White and then seeing the dwarves provides for some of those fun moments as we become latched to the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But it revisits those darker moments often to provide that balance of the evil queen becoming a really menacing villain, and then Snow White's development to see why she is so likable and sweet and caring to the Seven Dwarfs. I love that. And then at the end, when it becomes emotional that they thought Snow White had died and how they reacted to it all, you see that genuine connection that they had together. This is where it started all with the tropes of the princess and the prince and true love and all of that and the evil villains. And it did it in such a magical way. And to this day, a lot of Disney movies are chasing that same style. Old it is, and it being the very first Disney animated movie, and it has stood the test of time with its story and the characters. Coming in at number 6 is The Jungle Book. The Jungle Book is always a film that can make me smile. The animals in here, from Baloo and Bagheera, I absolutely love them. My cat, his name is Bagheera. And Mowgli is a character that just wants to feel part of something. And that's with the wolves and the other animals within the jungle. From the elephants in King Louie and Shere Khan, it just adds so much to the jungle. But the relationship between Baloo and Mowgli is nicely explored. I love the different tones that this movie does offer and the creative feel to it, bringing the story to life and having the fun animation, bright, colorful sequences, good songs. It's one of the most iconic Disney movies. Rounding out our top 5, Aladdin. Aladdin is one of the funniest Disney movies. Robin Williams as the genie as probably, I would safely say, probably the most iconic voice acting for Disney. He provides so much fun moments within this movie, and it's just typical Robin Williams done on screen. The little references to other Disney movies is classic. There's sweet moments between Jasmine and Aladdin, which provide iconic, charming songs. The movie offers thrilling action sequences throughout, which Disney movies really didn't have before. Jafar is one of the best Disney villains. There's a lot of big moments. It kind of feels like Sleeping Beauty at the end, where a character transforms into something bigger and you have all the characters fighting against that villain. Aladdin, for me, is one of the most thrilling, fun movies. You have that nice exploration of the lamp and people wanting that magical power, and then fun moments throughout. Robin Williams, honestly, is the highlight of this movie for me. He always makes this movie so much fun and entertaining. Coming in at number 4 is Peter Pan. Peter Pan is such a memorable film from beginning to end. It's filled with that magical vibe to it that works for Neverland. But in the beginning of the film, introducing the 3 characters and taking them to Neverland has that beautiful transition. Although Peter Pan offers a simple plot, the film offers many moments kids can relate to, which makes this film innocent and charming. Neverland is a place of imagination. How it's explored makes it feel so real. Peter Pan is such a likable character, and the tension between Captain Hook and him is often explored, and I wanted to know more about that. Tinkerbell is adorable within this movie. Seeing the jealousy that she goes through adds a lot of personality to this character. The songs, the sweeping grand moments of London and then going to Neverland always puts a smile on my face. I absolutely love Peter Pan. It's iconic. It's magical. It's got that whimsical feel to it. And then I love the back and forth between Captain Hook and Peter Pan, but also exploring Neverland and being in a place that I want to go to. I always remember as a kid thinking that Neverland was a real place and wanting to go there. And to this day, it's still got that magical feel to me. Coming in at number 3 is Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture, and it's deserving of that. And there's several reasons why, because this film balances dark tones early on with beautiful upbeat moments towards the end. Watching Beast slowly fall in love with Belle and realize that he needs to treat people nicely is a good story for Beast. Where we got him in the beginning, that very aggressive Beast, hating people and realizing that and then that slow development of his love for Belle is a story that for him, he needed to go through. It's something that needed to happen, but it also happened very naturally. And then Belle, on top of that, is such a likable character that she had this compassion for the Beast because of what he was going through. And it's nicely explored in here with such fun characters, some of the best Disney songs of all time. The darker scenes in the beginning, but that natural progression of the story works so well. You feel those sweet moments between Belle and Beast throughout this movie and becomes a satisfying end to this film. And at number 2 is The Lion King. Honestly, it took me years to really appreciate this film. Many people said The Lion King is my favorite animation film of all time. I really didn't feel that. But the more I watched it, I understand why. This movie is really good. I will say that The Lion King has the best soundtrack of any Disney movie. The music can make you feel emotional. It has those upbeat songs as well, but the animation is right there to provide these colorful and beautiful scenes to look at. Just look at the opening scene of this movie. It's iconic. It's beautiful to look at, and the slow rise to the big reveal of Mufasa and Simba in the beginning. It's iconic. But there you get to see this growth of Simba becoming the king of Pride Rock, and then you have these minor characters, Timon and Pumbaa, provide for a lot of the humor in it. Scar as our villain works, one of the best Disney villains. He challenges Simba throughout this movie, but it's got that really simple plot that grows these characters in a natural way, filled with beautiful songs, beautiful animations, and some of the most emotional scenes in a Disney movie. But coming in first place, my favorite Disney movie, Pinocchio. To me, Pinocchio does it all. It has a strong message within this film. Pinocchio is a character that you really care about. You want to see the journey of Pinocchio. Yes, he lies in the beginning of the film, but he has to realize what it means to be a real boy. So there is a story that you're immediately watching, see how it grows throughout this movie. Not only is his nose growing, he's growing as a character, and it has that beautiful message of not lying. It's a very simple message, and it works well within here. The animation is beautiful with the blue fairy and the ocean sequence with the whale and the magical feel of Pleasure Island as well. The animation for its time that it was released is beautiful, and to this day it still looks really good. Pinocchio has always been my favorite Disney animated movie. I remember meeting Pinocchio in Disneyland when I was 4 years old, and that really stuck with me. And I collected many Pinocchio things throughout the years, but I really just love this movie. The charming scenes of Pinocchio turning from a puppet to a real boy. Pinocchio to me just does it all. It's funny, it's thrilling, it's beautiful, it's got a good message, good songs, just all around a beautiful, well-developed Disney movie. And one of my all-time favorite animated movies. I absolutely love Pinocchio. So there you guys have it, all 62 Disney movies ranked worst to best. How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up-and-coming ranking videos like this. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.